Woo! All right. Welcome everybody. We're back in this modern Latin music summit. I want to welcome everybody to this great conversation that we're going to have about how do songwriters create hits for top Latin artists, and something that it's happening nowadays. That's really important. This whole crossover that's happening with the Latin music. So, first of all, my name is Guillermo Lefeld. I'll be moderating this panel today. And let me tell you that with everything that has been happening in the music, in the Latin music nowadays, and this whole reverse crossover that's happening, it is mandatory to talk about where does everything starts, which is pretty much with the song. Conversations in the music industry usually revolve around airplay and streams of income and numbers and streams and all of this and likes and Instagram and NFTs and all of that. But we tend to forget that everything starts with a song, and the music industry wouldn't be anything without a song. And thankfully, we have four of the amazing songwriters that have been making this possible during this past couple of years. And let me introduce you to them. We're going to be sharing today a lot of good moments with Ale Alberti. Ale is a songwriter originally from Miami. She's based now in Los Angeles. She's bilingual, and that ability has given her a unique perspective about pop and global music. She combines Latin rhythms and influences with contemporary R&B and pop. She has worked with Alesso, Anitta, Becky G, Lele, Pons, Dylan Francis, Ali Brooke, just to name a couple of them. And currently, she's writing with collaborators that include Justin Tanner, Pooh Bear, Jorgen Othergaard, Kid Classic, Gina the Ghost, Gene, Michael Pollack, Alde, and the Roommates. We also have Dani Blau, which is a songwriter from Costa Rica, and she's also now based in LA. She's fully bilingual and has played singles with artists in Latin America, the US, and Europe, such as the Fray, Mika, Sebastian Yatra, Tini, Manuel Turizo, Dana Paola, Patti Cantu, Now United, Denise Rosenthal, Lola Indigo, Hash, just to name a few. She's currently in the studio working with Billboard with Fede Windberg and Alex Lopez from Timbaland's team, the Roommates, Justin Tranner, and the Doctor, and a lot of other people. Um, the list is huge. She has upcoming singles out from Talia, Lali, Manuel Turizo, Denise Rosenthal, Now United, and Las Villas, Maya Refico, among others. We also have Gale in the house. She's a natural born musician and songwriter influenced by a lot of like boleros and music from the 80s. She has a lot of influences from Julia Michaels, Rihanna, Nelly Furtado, Selena, Shakira, among others. She has developed a unique musical style, which is both melodically and harmonically amazing. She writes profound songs, yes, still casual and conversational. She wrote her first song at the age of 7, and lately she has been actually writing songs for people like Anitta, like have you heard Me Gusta or Girl from Rio or Loco? Well, that's Gale right there. Lily Pons with Setenota, also collaborating with Pharrell Williams, Ryan Tedder, David Bisbal, Shakira, Sebastian Yatra, Stargate, among others. She's also a singer songwriter and she's bringing some really good music out. So stay tuned. And we also have Nito, producer. Nito is a Colombian music producer, songwriter, and engineer who started his musical career at a very young age. He attended Berklee College of Music to pursue a major in music production and engineering and contemporary writing and music production. He relocated to Miami and he started working for Tommy Torres. He has worked with artists like Daddy Yankee, Luis Fonsi, Pablo Lopez, Jesse and Joy. And nowadays, he's actually working with multi-platinum producer Danja, which who he's had the chance to actually work on songs for Ricky Martin, Dua Lipa, Britney Spears, and so many others. Some of his latest work involved superstars like Selena Gomez, Becky G, and Lele Pons. Oh my God, I got tired now. This is a lot to take in one session, but welcome, guys. I'm so glad to have you here to be sharing this next hour with you. And to start, I would like to know like that there's like a delay up there. All right. So when did you guys know that you wanted to write songs for others? How did this whole process started? Who wants to start?
Me.
All right.
Okay, so mine was kind of by accident. I remember I was actually, I think it was around the time when I met Ale. We were both living in Miami. I think that was over 10 years ago. I'm not even sure anymore how long it's been. But we were both pursuing our artist career. And I remember obviously we used to write our own songs, but Ale and I had to sort of live through the phase of when the whole industry kind of restructured and everybody was afraid because they didn't know what to do when albums weren't being sold anymore and it started shifting to online streaming. And so really new artists weren't being signed. Everybody was betting on the artists that were already big and were safe projects. Labels were downsizing or closing or merging. And I feel like at some point when we started songwriting and doors started, or at least I think for Ale it was also the same. But on my side, when we started writing and somebody like here and there, people would start asking us, hey, why don't you come and write and see if you want to write something for this artist and then for this artist? Since, little by little doors started opening on that side. And I think it was just like a natural road to take at that specific point in the timeline, that the music industry was going through. And then when I it was actually the part that I liked the most, the actual creation of the music. So it seemed, I was like, okay, well, whatever, I'll do that. I'll write music for others. And I kind of just stuck with it.
That's great. That's great. What about anybody else? That's a great story.
Okay, I'll say something. For me, I've always known that I wanted to do music. I wrote my first song when I was 7 years old, and I went to a classical music school, and then I somehow knew that I needed to be in Miami to pursue what I wanted to do. I'm blessed that like my parents were supportive and everything, so I didn't even go to my college graduation. I was already in Miami, like finding my way. And strategically, I've always wanted to be like do my artist project, but I felt that I wanted to do the songwriting first, like write songs for others, for other artists, and that's what I started doing. And my goal was to like get signed, get a publishing deal, and then like keep on doing that, building relationships, knowing people. Go to this music expo 4 years ago for the first time when I arrived to Miami. Remember that, Guillo? That's awesome. And that's how that was my path. That's how I decided to do this first. And I've gotten to like meet amazing artists, build relationships with amazing writers like Dani, Nito, and Ale. And yeah, that's my answer.
Nice. Nito, I think you were gonna say something, right?
Yeah. I guess for me, it's been a little different since I come from both the production and the songwriting part. For me, it's always been like writing stuff for other people and producing stuff for other people to pitch and yeah, for other artists to cut my songs or my productions. Nice. So it's always been with that in mind, that vision.
Yeah, which is kind of a different approach when you want to be the artist and then you end up. But for you, it has always been kind of a behind the scenes thing,
right?
For a different person, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's a good approach. Also, like I guess it's a little bit different. Where we can talk about it in a little bit later. How's the approach for that?
Definitely.
Ale, do you wanna share your story or?
Yeah, do you guys hear me? Because I had to switch up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Yeah, I think what Dani said is very true to me as well. Like, I started off as an artist when I was 15, and I got in the industry pretty young and got some success pretty young. And then I slowly realized that my passion was more in the room and more so creating versus actually being out there as an artist. And that's when I was just like, oh no, I can't do that. It's too much for me. So I just started kind of pitching my old records that I had written for myself. And then they started taking off and I was like, oh shit, I can make money like this. So it was fun. And then like just started meeting artists. And then I was I guess since I started as an artist, it became really easy to write for others because then you can kind of relate on the artist level what it is that they want and what it is that they need. And so I've just been loving being a songwriter for the past 15 years.
Nice.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
a question: when you, that's all amazing stories. But I think one of the things about like people ask themselves or ask in venues like this is, okay, how does inspiration comes to you? Like, how's that process? Um, like, how does this idea came to your head? So let's talk about that a little bit because I think that's a very important part of this whole process. How do you get the ideas? Where do you get the inspiration from?
I think
Who
it's
wants to
always
answer?
it's always new, right? It's always different, and you can't actually like know when it's coming or like be ready. You just gotta be always working, always in there to be ready when it hits you. But I also feel like inspiration is just about energy, like energy in the room, in your own personal energy, that you have that in you, that you somehow it just comes out of you and it wants to express itself. So sometimes I don't know, it's hard, it's a hard question, and I think we deal with it every day we're in the room. You have to be inspired every day.
But I also feel like adding on to what you're saying, um, I think it's important to say maybe for songwriters who are starting out that you're not supposed to have inspiration 100% of the time. And at
Exactly.
some point, and that's totally fine. You can still be a kick-ass successful songwriter without being inspired all the time. And you just have to find a way sort of to like get started and navigate your way through the process and know basically it's like a muscle that you develop. And sometimes you have more inspiration, sometimes you don't have that much inspiration, but you can still get the job done and make it a good for it to have a good result.
Yes. And adding
Obviously
to
it's
that,
better when inspiration is there, but
sorry, then.
no,
And
no.
adding to that, I also, yeah, I agree with you. It takes so much work. It's discipline. Like I wake up every day and I write. Like just set a 5 minute like timer to just free writing, and you'll get a line that you like, and you can write a song later for that. But also, when you're an artist, it's different, and when you're writing for an artist, I feel like it's different. And it's a lot of like communication. We're kind of like therapists a little bit, like writers, because if we have like input directly from the artist is even better, because
So
you're like filtering those feelings, and like they're like expressing themselves, and you're like, okay, so how do we create something from this and write something relatable for the artist and for people. And it's magical every time. It's so much fun.
You just mentioned something that I find really interesting, which is if we have the direct input from the artist, right? And,
Yeah.
and nowadays sessions, they happen. A lot of them happen with the artist in the room. Uh, so can you describe for people that they're not too familiar on how the modern songwriting sessions work? How does it work? Like you get there and what happens?
You vibe.
You vibe.
You vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's writing, like you say, it's a very weird situation if you haven't met people, but it's kind of like my comfort zone. So when you walk into a studio and maybe you're working with an artist for the first time or with the producers or writers for the first time, you kind of just need to talk a lot and kind of get the conversation going. You can't really show up and be like, okay, we're gonna write now. You don't. It's kind of weird. So you just have to like, hey, how are you doing? What is anybody going through? Like usually experiences pop up in the conversation, and then something sparks a title, something sparks a concept, and then you start writing from that, and then that might inspire the producer or the artist. So I feel it's us creatives, we're very in touch with our feelings, and that's why when we get in the room it kind of naturally happens. Like I never necessarily have writer's block, and people are like, I have writer's block. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Like when I walk in the room, it just happens. I've never been in a situation where like I couldn't write a song. I get inspired by other people and their energy, and like we just have so much fun in the room that it's impossible not to write a song.
Nice. But you gotta be open, right? You gotta
Yeah.
be. That's probably one of the most important things.
Yeah.
When you said sometimes you work with people that you have never collaborated with, and how is that? It has been a challenge for you guys at some point, or is it always flows like super nice?
I mean, it's also a matter of how social you are, and how like it's like making a new friend. Like it's the same thing as like saying hi to somebody that you've never seen, and kind of just like putting your vibe and your energy out there, and like taking other people's vibes in, and say obviously you vibe with some people more than with others, but I think if you're just like genuinely an easygoing and nice person, and you're just like, you know,
Yeah. And I also know, like, I feel like you have to put in the work. Like, to me, like, the goal is to write a song, we're going to write a record today. But like Alice says, to me, the first hour at least is like to talk. Let's just talk about life and about what's going on, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, because it's like you're making a new friend, and you're gonna have a baby with that person in about 8 hours. So it's like you go from 0 to 100 pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, it's weird. They're telling you their deepest secrets, and then you might not see them again or whatever. It's a matter of 5 hours where you go from 0 to 100. What you're saying, that's interesting.
Nito, one question. When you
Tell
when,
me.
when your approach to songwriting, being that you're also a producer and you're coming from that part of engineering and production,
Yes.
what's your like when you go into a session, and let's say you have the four of you are having a session right now.
Hmm.
What is the goal, or the position of the producer? Like, why do we pair up songwriters with producers in the same room right now? Like,
Kind of to lead the session first. So listen to the artist, what they want to achieve. If they want to, always, of course, be prepared, have some tracks out, have something ready. So if the artist wants to listen to some tracks, then you can start that way. Or if they want to start something from scratch, then you can, take it like that. But I guess the general thing is to lead the session, see if the artist is ready to go in and write some stuff, to if they wanna, be on the mic and be throwing some lyrics or some melodies. So you're just gonna be there leading the party and listening to your teammates, because songwriters, I mean, everyone can jump in and be the leader at any point in time.
awesome. One question. Nowadays that we're seeing all this crossover, and the Latin music having a very big impact. Like today coming here, I just heard a collaboration between Anuel, Dani, and Maroon 5,
Well,
and Spotify. Like it came out this week, and like, how's your approach to songwriting now that you know that your song that you're probably writing in Spanish is going to be doing that crossover, and opening the door to an Anglo singer in it? Is it a different mindset? Do you think about it when you're writing, or what? How do you approach that?
I mean, I think it's like many different scenarios, because sometimes we write the song knowing that it's going to be a crossover, and sometimes we write the song before it becomes a crossover, or sometimes we're the people who actually do the part in Spanish that another song needed that had already been written. So it's like a couple
right.
different scenarios. But I think it's positive and awesome in every one of them, because it's like exposure to different markets. And also to different people in your music network. You get to collaborate with people that live in UK, that live in places where otherwise you wouldn't have originally collaborated.
When you write a song, and you're thinking about that crossover, do you usually get information about what artist is going to be participating on that collaboration, or it's just like a blank canvas, and then you just um, do you're writing for a Latin artist, but do you know who's going to jump into the track later? Or I'm not
I
talking about.
think most times, but sometimes the label knows and they just want a part in Spanish and they don't or they have like a few options and they don't know which one yet.
And do you treat it differently, as if you were writing the whole song, or is it the same approach, or is it a different approach?
Alguien, somebody.
I mean, I can think of, like, for example, Anitta, who I work with a lot. For her, it's a little bit more specific because she's fluent in 3 languages, right? So,
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, not so long ago, we're writing her verse for a song with Snoop Dogg, and I'm thinking her verse is gonna be in English, and she's like, "No, he wants me to sing fully Spanish," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we did the verse in Spanish, but sometimes it's like both. It's better. I think it's easier if you're working with the artist and they're very specific in what they want and what they need. I think it can be a little bit more open if you're trying to pitch something like that. And maybe you can be like more creative, or I don't know, try things and make people get people interested in what you're proposing. I think it's fun. I think it's less boundaries every time in music. You just like do what you feel, what you like, go for it.
We have thank you. We have a couple of questions here from our audience. Fran Verdejo, for instance, he said, "What are some of the ways songwriters can get started, can start getting noticed, and when they haven't been with any of the major or gatekeepers? Like, what's a good way to get noticed?"
Having a great song.
Definitely.
That's
What's
the
what's a
that
great song?
That's the first step.
that's the first step. Having just an amazing song, and then kind of reaching out to people. I feel like in the world that we live in now, it's a lot easier than the world that we grew up in.
Mhm.
That everything's just like in your face. Social media, emails are all on Google. If you even Google people, they'll show up. So if you really want to get your song to people, even to artists, I DM artists all the time with a link to the song. And I'm like, hey, I got a record for you that I just wrote the other day, and I just DM them. And I've gotten some placements like that. So I think that it's the access is there. You just have to have the great song. And then once people hear the great song, then they'll be interested. And then that'll open up many doors for you.
Ale, how do you know your song is great?
That's another question.
I mean, we're always hoping that it's great. You kind of have to have a standard. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
if you listen to what's on the radio, if you listen to what's happening now, you kind of know how the sound has to be, the level of mixing and mastering, the demos. Like there's a certain level that you have to keep. Like a lot of people send me records and they're like, "What do you think of my song?" I give them feedback. I give them constructive feedback because I want them to get better and I want them to, have a chance. So I'm always like, hey, maybe the song is great, but the production's not good, the vocal's not good, the mix is not good. And so when people DM me and send me songs, I always give them constructive criticism because I feel like I would have loved that if when I was coming up in the industry. Because a lot of A&Rs, like if you send them a record and they don't hear anything, they just won't answer.
Yeah.
So I think being able to give people constructive criticism is going to help them to take them to the next level.
It's true.
Definitely.
And if this helps, what I did was that I actually went to the publishers. I went to Pure Music,
Yeah,
I went to Universal, I went to Warner Chappell, I went to Sony ATV, and I had some songs that I recorded myself, guitar and voice, on the closet. And I think they heard some potential in there, and they started putting me in sessions. And it took one session. I remember I was freaking out. They put me in a session with an artist, Fanny Lou, and with another producers and another writer. And it was my first time writing with like collaborating. I've always written like by myself. And then that songs get cut. And then people started like to recommend me, and I just started getting into sessions. That's how it happened for me. It was like word of mouth, but I felt like I needed to prove myself, like, yes, I can do this. I can write this song. And I'm lucky that that song got cut, but like if it didn't, I still did a good job, and people would still like recommend me, and that's how it happened for me.
Nice.
Have to go to maybe find that opportunity.
Yeah, go ahead, Nito.
Also reaching out to producers, like if you're a songwriter and you met somehow a producer or through Instagram or social media, reach out to producers because they can hear your song and then maybe want to jump on it, produce it, whatever, and then show it to to the publishers and whatnot. Because it might be a little hard for people that are starting out to reach out to publishers, directly. So I guess reaching out to producers and setting up a team might be easier for people that are starting out.
Nice.
But also about, sorry, Guillo.
Yeah.
About your question, like, how do you know it's a good song? I feel like past that standard that we have to have, because we obviously have to know like what a good song sounds like. But past that point, I think that it's also kind of like individual taste, because I remember like I was with Gale in the studio yesterday and we were listening to a new song that this artist that we both love put out, and she was like going crazy over it, and I was like, it's meh, and that happens to me like when I sometimes you can send a song to somebody and like somebody that you consider important will be like, I like the verses, but I don't love the hook so much. I don't love the chorus. And then you send it to somebody else, and this literally happened to me. And I send it to somebody else, and they're like, "What is this chorus? This is like the best thing I've ever heard." I'm not sure about the verses, but I love the chorus. And like that, and then like I don't know. And then that song eventually got placed, But it's like, like take. Like nobody has like the ultimate say in what a great song is. No. It's like a certain standard, and then just it's gonna make some people feel, and some people not so much. So
if it speaks to you like for a long time, like once you leave the session, you might be in love with it. But if it continues to speak to you in that, then it's good.
Except like some songs that are just like undeniably phenomenal.
Yeah.
But
the unicorns.
The unicorns.
And even some of those, like I always say the story behind New Rules, that was written in a Little Mix camp, and the A&R of Little Mix passed on that song, and it went to become the biggest song for Dua Lipa. So I mean,
you don't want to be that A&R.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so it's really like for that A&R, it was an okay song, and it went to become a huge hit for somebody else. So you just never know.
Also, that song, maybe the production had a lot to do, like the final production with how it feels. I don't know. Maybe he heard a demo that wasn't
potential.
Maybe
someone heard a potential on that song.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then you never know if another artist would have put it out, if it would have been as good.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it just has to be like in the right place at the right time with the right artist, and like everything has to come together.
Definitely.
One of the things we get asked a lot is, like, how do you produce demo or voice and guitar? How do you present your songs? Like highly produced or voice and guitar?
Depends on what the song needs. If the song needs the whole production, go all in. Everything, like, this is my opinion, of course, but everything it needs. But if the song is, like a more of a intimate, very, I don't know, gentle, like an intimate vibe, then, I mean, you can do both ways, but depending on what the song needs.
Awesome. But Nito, I think like 7 out of every 10 songs we pitched have been like,
of course,
fully produced,
full-blown, mastered,
mixed and mastered, ready for radio.
Dolby,
Do you think sometimes that production might get in the way of the song being placed because of discrepancies in the production?
It could be, yeah.
I mean,
you try not to get in the way as a producer when you're doing demos like that. Not to, I don't know. That's a good question, because it could stand out, or it could be like, whoa, no, that's too much. So I think when you're doing demos, you have to be a little bit careful with that. Not to be too extreme on things that could be just taste and be disregarded just because of taste.
I feel like before, like years back, like 10 years ago, when I was pitching records, they were very like simplified, like guitar, vocal, piano, vocal, and you could get away with that. And we placed a lot of records like that. But I feel like in the temperature that we're living in, it's so competitive, and production has taken such a important part of records that now it's like you are competing with amazing productions and songs. So like you kind of 95% of the stuff I pitch is like full production, final mix and master, and like
one question that came here, and it kind of touches on something that Gale said about her session with Fanny Lou, is how do you deal with starstruck? How do you calm those?
I found out I'm really good at it.
How do you do it?
You just have to know that you're a pro. You're a professional. You're there to work, and you need to know what your role is in that room. You need to. I mean, I worked with Christina Aguilera. She's one of my top 3, influences / inspiration / everything. And I was 4 days with her in the room, and I was like completely, like, hi, nice to meet you. Like, I'm here for you. Inside, I'm like, what the? Outside, I'm a professional. I'm there to work. We build a relationship. Awesome. And she'll never know.
Nice.
Don't tell her. I'm kidding. But just, you got to know what your role is. You need to keep it together. You need to know that you're there to work.
I think there's like there's a difference between starstruck and admiration. So I think like what we all have as creative is admiration towards people that we could have grown up with and that we love. And that's what keeps us a little bit grounded in the room, is like, you're like, oh my God, I love their music. And there's a lot of admiration, and it's fine to, like, if they mention something, be like, well, I grew up on your music. Like, I love your stuff. Like, it's cool. Like, obviously then there's that level of starstruck and like asking for pictures, which is like, you don't really cross that line.
Yeah.
So it's you have to know, like GALE said, your place in the room. You're there to work. You're not there to become friends with them. If they open up their heart and their life to you, and they give you their number and stuff like that, that's cool. But like, you kind of have to see it as a job. You show up, you get the job done, and you kind of like out.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly.
Nice.
I don't think that's ever happened to me. I don't think I was born with the starstruck gene.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like
You don't care.
No, not at
I'm
all.
dead.
Cool. That's good.
That's cool.
Yeah, I feel the same, Dani. I feel the same. One question here that's really is going to take us to another aspect of the conversation, which is the multicultural world that we're living in right now. One of our people here asked, how do you incorporate your bilingual songwriting abilities personally when working with a songwriter like Justin Trenner? Do you feel you bring something unique because of the Latin culture?
Yeah. I mean, I've
Yeah.
worked with him several times on both ends, like in pop sessions and in Latin sessions. And I feel like it just depends. If it's a bilingual record, then you know that your role there is like to elevate the song into a, crossover record and get every single part, which is funny because sometimes I'll be in a session and then like I'll be throwing out all the English lyrics and they'll be like, wait, you were the Spanish writer. I'm like, no, but I was born in Nashville. I'm fully bilingual. I can write in English too. And then it happens on the other end. I'll write a full song in English, and then they'll send the song to some, like Dani just did a translation for me on an English record that I did for J-Lo. So it's like, it's knowing what you're bringing to the record, what time. And I think that writers at his level appreciate, what you're bringing to the table, because they wouldn't be able to do it by themselves. So the collaboration really has been, I would say, very fruitful for the past 2-3 years that this has been going on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you think that what's happening now, because we've been seeing a lot of inclusion and diversity in our Latin songwriting sessions, something that was probably happening in the Anglo market, but not so much in the Latin market. We still need more inclusion and more diversity in our sessions. But do you think what's happening right now has contributed to that crossover that we're living in our industry? Like, open up the sessions to more diversity and inclusive sessions.
Are we talking about like cultural diversity,
Yeah.
or like if women in music, or like
the whole thing?
That's another good point.
Yeah,
because like I feel like it's two completely different. I mean, they're totally related, but like women in music is like one whole world of conversation. And
yeah, let's talk about women in music for a second, because I mean,
Okay.
diversity. Obviously, there's diversity right now because we're Latin. We're writing for So that type of diversity, like cultural diversity, is important. But I really would like to touch on that subject of women in music, because I think every time we have a platform like this, it is important to talk about it. So what do you guys think?
I think that we're an overwhelming minority in the industry, but thankfully there's so much more awareness about it now, and so people are kind of like putting the effort in to start shifting things, and they make it a point to like try to get a girl or a woman in the room. I mean, Gale, Ale, and I have also paved our own way by like writing awesome songs and like working with different artists and everything. But also sometimes, still now, we see that like there are rooms that are only men all the time, with like and specifically like with some crews of artists and producers more than others, maybe. I feel like it happens. I feel like as a female writer. It's more pronounced in the Latin market than in the pop market, and also there are very few female producers. It's just always been a very male dominated career, I guess. But I think that's slowly but surely starting to change.
And that change, do you think has had some impact on what's happening now in music?
Yeah.
Definitely, right?
I mean, I feel, and I'm gonna stop talking after this so you can all talk because, but I feel that as women we have a very different perspective on things, and like we're, like super intuitive. We're very sensitive to certain things, and we say things like the wording we choose and the way that we want to express certain thoughts is very different to the way a guy would express it. So I only think that it adds to the whole. It's like it enriches the music.
Absolutely. And we got to provide a safe environment to keep this inclusion going on and happening more and more and more and more. Nito, I want to bring you on this
Yes,
topic
sir.
because part of the solution is us. Is I mean, we created the problem. We got to solve it too. What do you think about what's happening, and do you see more um, 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 women, and how do you feel about it, the whole thing?
Definitely a lot more women now, and I work with a lot of women. Like I think mostly in terms when it's songwriters, I work with mostly women, and I have no problem with that. So yeah, I think it's ridiculous that it's been like that. I think if you're talented, you're talented, and as Dani said, yeah, I guess there's differences in how women express and think about certain things that might be different than men. So yeah,
Awesome. So let's keep
yeah,
creating.
let's keep it up.
Yeah, let's keep creating an industry that's inclusive and diverse.
For sure. Yeah.
Questions here. Do you guys oh, I'm sorry, like the question just went up and the whole thing like just went up. Okay, do you guys start putting the melody first, or do you
Melody first, always.
melody first, or
Kidding.
do you start with I remember that
No.
there was like the Berkeley style was like
Uh
we start with the title. I'm sorry.
oh.
Like no, we're gonna start with the title of the song, and that from that title they would write the whole thing down.
Oh man, when you're waiting for titles to show up,
Bro, that's okay. So
No, but it depends on the
every-
person.
what's your
yeah, definitely.
what's
Like
your
Gale does that a lot.
Dani, go ahead, please.
No, Gale, tú explica.
Tell them.
You tell them. You tell them.
To me, it's always different. Cliche answer, but so true, and I stand by it. And it depends. When I'm writing for myself as an artist, I'm very like personal in the things that I want to say and how I want to say, and I work a lot with Dani. And sometimes, if we're starting from scratch, I just like I write things down, and I'm like, okay, I want to write about this feeling. And if we're starting from a track, sometimes the track is giving me something. Like I hear it and I'm like, oh, this giving me this. And all of a sudden it's a word and we write about that. But most of the times melodies are like first for me. And in the melodies, I'll say something that I feel and we'll go like that way.
Nice.
Yeah.
And when I say melodies first, it's like we'll do some melodies and then we'll, like I said, like we Frankenstein the melodies, we build the song with the melodies, and then we write lyrics to that. That's how I usually do it, because I care a lot about, you know, the melody and that. But yeah, sometimes it's like both at the same time, which is awesome.
Awesome. We got a question also related to the diversity, and it's about how do you feel about the lack of diversity that's cultural, and specifically like Afro Latinx representation, and the queer Latinx representation as well within our industry. Do you feel that like that's something that is opening up? We still need to work on it, but how do you see that, and how do you see that contributing to what's happening with our industry, with our music?
I think it's definitely changing drastically, and those, like, there's a lot of upcoming artists that are you know, paving the way for that whole change to manifest in a bigger way. But I think it is manifesting, and you can see it visually, like everything. It's definitely Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No. Just more up and coming artists, I would say, that are in that trend.
Because you see it, I think you see it in the artist side, but are you guys actually seeing it also in the songwriting and producer side, like the queer Latinx representation is there, or the Afro Latinx representation is there? How do you?
I've always felt that it's super diverse on the songwriting side. I've never felt like you know, there's a lack of I don't know, queer Latinx representation in this, or there's a lack of this or that, because we're with different people all the time. We're with different producers, different, you know, in different studios, and it's always a different crew. And that's what keeps, you know, the music so different every time. And depending on what you're working on, they will obviously pick somebody that fits the mold to write what you're writing. So if you're writing, you know, an Afrobeat song, you know, they're gonna call in the people who are the best fit for that. If you're writing another song, but like, for example, for the queer Latinx culture, I think that they've always been like a big part of the industry as songwriters, as artists, as everything. And the difference maybe now is that they're able to be more open about it.
Yeah, and they they're more open about it. We have worked with amazing, very very talented people on the community, and it's every time the experiences are amazing. That's from my personal point of view, which I'm not talking on this panel, but I think it is amazing. There are two questions about the weird, horrible topic of money. One of the questions is, how do you guys deal with the splits?
So in my case, if it's you start from scratch in the room, I usually do equals. Like I don't get too complicated in the sense, like if someone really didn't write something, then you have that conversation with them. Like it's happened to me before that a writer like walked in and walked out for 2 hours, came back and like more like 90% of the song was done already. When the session was done, I was like, hey, so you were out for like 2-3 hours, so I think the split should be like this. And the writer was like, I completely agree. I'm cool with that. But you know, if you're in the room and you're doing everything, and maybe somebody's words inspired you, and the producer, you know, maybe one producer only did the drums, but that changed the whole record. Like I'm just like, let's split it in equals. And then the conversation starts when records are being Frankensteins, where it's like they brought in someone to do the verse, they brought in someone to do the post. Then there you kind of like, okay, so what's fair? And then you start seeing. But I think the temperature that we're living in, it's like the question of artists taking percentage on records that they didn't write.
Okay.
And it's, you know, I'm no longer doing that. I've put my foot down, and I think that, you know, it's come to a point where fair is fair, and the artist makes income so many ways. that at this point, that at this point, if they really didn't write a record, it would be very unfair for them to take percentage. That's my take.
Do you think that would jeopardize some of your placements?
It hasn't yet.
It hasn't. Nice.
It hasn't yet, and I think I'm at the point in my career where I'm working with such, and I'm saying it in the pop side, like in the pop side, people are much more like, that they put their foot down. And I have not had a problem with it at all. Like I've had huge names of people cutting my records and no percentage.
How do you deal, you or anybody else, with translations? Because that's also like, it's important to know that, especially we're talking about like crossover and stuff. So translation also get right.
Yeah, but you have to discuss that before you do it.
Before you do translation, right?
Before you do it, you negotiate your percentage and your fee, because you should be getting a fee as well. I know this because not only am I a writer, but I manage Dani. So I mean, I'm very much so on the business side. I manage writers, artists, producers. So I am very involved into like what deals and contracts look like and what you should be asking for when you're getting into certain types of records.
Cool.
That's cool.
There's a related question by Lucia. I mean, it's not related, but it's on the legal side of stuff. Like, how do you, Lucia Camacho asked a question, when showing a song to an artist, how do you protect your song legally? How do you go about
that? I mean, I think that's kind of old school, having to register the song, because we all write it in the studio. Usually you're with the people that are also part of the song. And if the people who were with you rip off their own song, that's ridiculous. It could happen, but that's ridiculous. But I mean, in all honesty, you can register a song and somebody else can still get away with writing something similar, but not legally,
right?
Like a problem. And it's happened to me. I know it's happened to Ale more than once. I had actually written a song. It was a flip, which is like taking like songs that were written 10 years ago, or I don't know how long ago, and doing like a new version of it. And we wrote it, and then basically it was so ridiculous that we sent the song to the artist manager, and they said, oh, but we don't know if we should do a flip of the song and this. And we were like, no, we picture it with this artist and this artist and this artist. And so they were like super shady about it. And then a while later, they did exactly the same thing with the artist that we had told them. Oh my
God.
The same flip of the same song with just different lyrics.
Yeah.
And but the other melodies that it had were similar. And Ale and I remember Ale and I wrote one once here in LA before, and sometimes it happens and and it's nobody's fault. Like for Ale and I wrote a song, and then this song, the Drake, what's it called? The Bad Bunny and Drake one, Mia, came out. And I remember like all of us that had been in the session were like, who did you guys send the song to? Because it was so similar. And we were like, how could it be? It's like almost identical. And the part where it says Mia, our song also said Mia.
No, you're kidding.
Yeah, but it wasn't, like. I
mean, wow. The issue with that is that concepts are not copyrightable, and that's what we need to understand. And a song has to be like substantially similar. And there's like a whole test of that.
You can get a musicologist and but what I recommend is getting a timestamp. So if you are going to send records to A&Rs, and don't send like on text message, like you can take a screenshot, but I just feel like everything has to be very professional when you're sending songs. So email, and then you have that as a timestamp and proof of when the song was written, and that's what I would recommend.
Awesome. I would like to, because there's a couple of other questions, and we have only like 10 minutes left. But I think if we summarize this question that I have next, is gonna take over all of the other questions that are out there as outstanding. So it's like a very short answered questions that I would like to make a round of that. So for everybody, what do you consider to be your big break? What song?
Who wants to start?
For me, I think it's Te Nota. It's recent. It's a song that I really love, and Lele and Guayna just made it so freaking cool. Also, Me Gusta with Cardi and Mike Towers. I mean, I need to like be on top of like with the numbers and everything. I just love the songs, and I know they're doing fine. But like, I think that's it for me. Girl from Rio, everything.
Nice.
More to come. More to come.
I mean, for me, the one, I don't know if it was like, if I could say it's my big break, but the one that started like getting me into bigger rooms was when, what was it, Quiero Volver, that with Tini and Sebastian Yatra. And then I started doing like more serious sessions after that.
Mhm.
What about you, Ale?
Me? I think for me would be Celoso Lele. That was like her first single that broke, and that kind of like put me on the map, and that just kind of led me to just get into bigger rooms, and that just like trickled down to other big stuff.
Nice. Nito.
The Selena Gomez record we did with GALE,
Yeah.
Adios. Yeah, that was huge. That was huge for us.
Nice.
Yes.
Song that you would have loved to write.
Todo de ti from Bro Alejandro, you know.
I
I
would
mean,
just anything Michael Jackson,
Anything Michael Jackson.
Billie Jean.
yeah, like how,
you know?
like,
I thought it was recent stuff.
No,
Oh,
it could be any
We
song.
can go Beatles.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Don't Stop Me Now, Queen.
I don't even like all of those.
Yeah.
Yes.
Latest.
But also Julia Michaels, any Julia Michaels song.
I
Nice.
thought of that too.
Nice. Latest release that you know of from you that people can actually listen to right now.
Mine is Girl from Rio, Anitta's song.
Amazing, amazing.
Now there's a remix with that baby. Thank you.
My latest release is Bryce Fine and Submos. It's called The Game.
Nice, nice. Check it out, people. Check it out.
What
Platforms.
was my latest release? Oh, there's one today.
Yeah.
A writer that I work with a lot. His name is Sobrino. He's also an artist. And he put out one of his songs today that I wrote with him. It's called Huellas.
Nice,
I'm
nice.
gonna listen to that.
Nito.
They're good.
It's called Ella No Me Cree from Joseph and Del Valle. One is a Spanish artist and the other guy is from Puerto Rico. It's really cool.
Nice, nice. And last question. Any like quick advice that you have for upcoming songwriters, career wise or anything, just something that you think it would be important for everybody to know?
Don't give up.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. And
Just keep going.
yeah, and be patient.
And write every day if
Yep.
you want to be a writer. Even like if it sucks, just do it.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. All right.
Mhm.
So, well, thank you so much for everybody to be here. I see Mr. Luis Maestrachi. I want to thank every single one of you, Ale, Gale, Nito, Dani, and I want to thank the Music Expo, Loic, Zell, Carmen, everybody on your side for hosting us and for having us today. To all the audience that participated, everybody that submitted their questions, thank you for being with us today and this great event. Don't forget, there's more things coming up. I know Luic is here to tell us about it, right, Luic?
I'm here to tell about what's next, but I wanted to thank everybody. I wanted everybody to drop a 5 on the chat, 5 like the 5 folks we had on the screen for the last hour. If you had a good time, if you learned a lot of things, I am impressed. I've attended 30 music expos myself, and I still learn so much in this. So this is incredible. I want to actually thank each one of you, Ale, Dani, Gail, Nito, for joining us today. And also thank the person who put us in touch, which is Ali Stone. She's
Yes,
in the
sir.
masterclass tomorrow. So thank you so much, Ali. And Guillo, you've done a fantastic job moderating this panel. Thank you so much for being such an incredible, I would say, we're fans of you, and you're a fan of us. It's amazing. I love it. It's like the big family, and this is fantastic. I hope one day we'll all be in the same room again.
Woo.
Maybe that studio or somewhere else. But thank you so much to all our panelists. Drop a 5. I see a bunch. All right, Rich drops plenty of 5s. Thank you so much. We're going to quickly transition to the next session. Really excited. I will clap for everybody, but virtual clap on hoping,
Thank you.
please. Yeah. Thank you so much. We see you. And Guillo, I see you tomorrow. You're going to be on the panel.
Yes.
I'll try to be as good as you were today.
I'll try.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
I will do the same thing.
I will transition, do a quick sound check, and go to the next session.
Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.